International economic organizations. 1. The World Bank. The World Bank is an international financial institution that provides financial and technical assistance to developing countries for development projects. 1. It aims to reduce poverty and support economic development. 1. The World Bank consists of 5 institutions, with the International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, IBRD, and the International Development Association, IDA, being the main ones. 2. The International Monetary Fund, IMF. The IMF is an international organization that promotes global monetary cooperation, exchange rate stability, and facilitates international trade. 2. It provides financial assistance and policy advice to member countries facing economic difficulties. 3. Asian Development Bank, ADB. ADB is a regional development bank dedicated to promoting economic and social progress in Asia and the Pacific. 3. It provides loans, grants, and technical assistance to member countries for various development projects. 4. Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, AIIB. The AIIB is a multilateral development bank focused on financing infrastructure projects in the Asia-Pacific region. 4. It aims to foster sustainable economic development and regional connectivity. Bilateral, regional, and global groupings and agreements involving India. India engages in various bilateral, regional, and global groupings and agreements to promote economic cooperation, trade, and strategic partnerships. Some notable ones include 1. South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation, SAARC. SAARC is a regional grouping of South Asian nations, including India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nepal, Sri Lanka, Bhutan, Afghanistan, and the Maldives. 1. It aims to foster economic and cultural cooperation among member countries. 2. Bay of Bengal Initiative for Multi-Sectoral Technical and Economic Cooperation, BIMSTEC. BIMSTEC is a regional organization comprising 7 countries bordering the Bay of Bengal, including India. 2. It focuses on enhancing regional economic integration and cooperation in various sectors. 3. BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. BRICS is an association of major emerging economies that aims to promote economic cooperation, trade, and investment among member countries. 4. India-ASEAN, Association of Southeast Asian Nations, Free Trade Agreement. India has a free trade agreement with ASEAN to enhance trade and economic relations with Southeast Asian countries. The World Trade Organization, WTO, and India. The WTO is an international organization that deals with global rules of trade between nations. India is a member of the WTO and actively participates in its activities. The WTO provides a platform for member countries to negotiate trade agreements, settle trade disputes, and ensure transparency in international trade practices. India has been involved in various trade disputes and negotiations within the WTO framework. One notable case is India's dispute with the United States regarding the latter's domestic content requirements for the solar industry. India challenged these requirements at the WTO, arguing that they discriminated against Indian solar products and violated WTO rules. The WTO ruled in favor of India, stating that the US measures were inconsistent with WTO obligations. India has also been involved in negotiations on various trade issues, including agriculture, services, and intellectual property rights, with the aim of safeguarding its economic interests and promoting fair trade practices globally. Here are some additional points about international economic organizations, bilateral, regional, and global agreements involving India, and India's involvement with the World Trade Organization, WTO. International economic organizations. 1. United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, UNCTAD. UNCTAD is a permanent intergovernmental body within the United Nations system that deals with trade, investment, and development issues. 1. It aims to promote equitable trade policies and development-oriented integration for developing countries. 2. Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD. While India is not a member of the OECD, it has engaged in cooperation with the organization on various economic and policy matters. 2. The OECD provides a platform for sharing best practices and policy discussions among its member countries. 3. G20. India is a member of the G20, a group of major advanced and emerging economies. 3. The G20 holds summits to address global economic challenges, promote financial stability, and discuss issues related to international trade and investment. Bilateral, regional, and global groupings and agreements involving India. 1. Comprehensive Economic Cooperation Agreement (CECA) with Singapore. India signed a CECA with Singapore in 2005, aiming to boost trade and investment between the two countries. 1. It covers a wide range of sectors, including goods, services, investment, and intellectual property. 2. India-Mercosur Preferential Trade Agreement. India has a preferential trade agreement with Mercosur, a regional bloc comprising Argentina, Brazil, Paraguay, and Uruguay. 2. The agreement aims to enhance trade and economic relations between India and Mercosur countries. 3. India-European Union Free Trade Agreement (FTA). India has been negotiating an FTA with the European Union to deepen economic ties and expand trade in goods and services between the two parties. 4. India-Japan Economic Partnership Agreement. The agreement between India and Japan focuses on trade in goods, services, and investment, aiming to strengthen economic cooperation and promote business opportunities. The World Trade Organization (WTO) and India. India's role in WTO negotiations. India actively participates in WTO negotiations to address various trade-related issues, including agriculture, non-agricultural market access, services, and intellectual property rights. India often represents the interests of developing countries and seeks to safeguard its domestic industries while promoting fair and equitable global trade. Dispute settlement at the WTO. India has been involved in several disputes at the WTO, both as a complainant and as a respondent. For instance, India has raised concerns about certain trade measures implemented by other countries, including anti-dumping and countervailing duties on Indian exports. Additionally, India has faced challenges from other countries regarding its trade policies, such as its restrictions on certain agricultural imports. Trade facilitation. India has been actively engaged in trade facilitation discussions at the WTO, advocating for measures to simplify customs procedures and reduce trade barriers to enhance cross-border trade efficiency. Special and differential treatment. As a developing country, India supports the concept of special and differential treatment (S&D) at the WTO, which allows developing countries to have certain exemptions and flexibilities in trade commitments to accommodate their development needs and economic constraints.